Hello, everybody, and welcome to Friday Night Huddle, Week 8 of the regular season, about to get underway and in full swing all across the Buckeye State. Along with Chris Fedor from cleveland.com, Nate Cline from cleveland.com, I'm Dave Bacon. Week 8, guys, playoff positioning starts to take shape.
I mean, that's the big thing about Week 8. You know who controls their own destiny. You know who's in line for a home playoff game. You know which teams are on the bubble. I mean, this is the time last year where some of those teams that we thought maybe could have gotten into the postseason missed because of a few games down the stretch. These are usually where the heavy conference games are late in the season, so it's a great time of year for sure.
And you're talking about some of those teams that are, trying to get into playoffs. How about these teams right now who are trying to fight for a home playoff spot? Yep. So I think those are teams that we're going to kind of keep an eye out. There's quite a few games to keep an eye out for to kind of see how they're going to determine what's going to happen, where they're going to be seated. But obviously we're just in the week. We still have a couple more to go. So,
well, let's take a look at some of the big games and some of the games that we will be keeping our eye on in this Week 8 of high school football all across the Buckeye State. Division I, Region 1, one of the biggies, Mentor and Solon. Solon really needing that one. Midview is trying to keep that rolling after they had that early loss to Avon. They've been on track. Interesting matchup, Benedictine and Padua. That's an NCL battle with playoff teams, Mayfield and East Lake North. An interesting one down Columbus way. St. Ignatius from up in Cleveland, Moeller from in Cincinnati meet halfway in Columbus, and they decide they're going to do battle down in Columbus. Barberton and Tallmadge, is Barberton trying to stay unbeaten. Perry and Orange, Perry trying to stay unbeaten. Chardon and Brush, an interesting one. Both of those teams trying to position themselves for a spot in Division II or Region 5. Lakewood and Westlake, and then another Cincinnati versus Northeast Ohio battle. LaSalle taking on St. Vincent St. Mary. That one up in Northeast Ohio. So LaSalle hops on a bus, drives 4 hours, comes and gets ready to play football. Of all those games, Chris, which one kind of grabs your attention? Which one are you paying attention to here?
So I'm a writer, and I'm big on storylines. So I'll go with Padua against Benedictine, because if you go back to last year's meeting, it was the first time Benedictine lost against Padua since 2012. Okay, now you come into tonight's game, you've got Benedictine at 5-2, you've got Padua 6-1. Padua controls its own destiny right now if you're talking about the playoff picture, and this is a team that is not used to being in the postseason. Their head coach, Mike Polovasic, from Benedictine, now at Padua, has this team off to a great start, coming off a loss. So to me, this one has so many storylines around it.
Here is a live look in as the Padua Bruins had to punt. So really good field position for Benedictine as they're going to get the ball about the 43-yard line to start their initial drive. So we'll keep an eye on that. As you see, we're looking in live, keeping all of them going. Nate, which one you got your eye on?
Well, just like Chris was talking about how he likes storylines, I like a little money. So let's just call it even. So I think they're probably going to be making quite a bit of ticket sales at this LaSalle St. Vincent St. Mary game here in this game. These are two teams who are trying to make sure that they try to keep themselves in the playoff hunt right now. In the last 3 games, both of them have dropped at least 2 of those games. So I'm curious to see how these two teams are going to fare in tonight's game again out in Akron.
6:30 start. It's a 6:30 start in this one in LaSalle with a 7-0 lead, and it looks like they're back inside the red zone. Are the LaSalle Lancers at the, looks like they're about the 17-yard line. And Griffin Merritt, their talented quarterback, is out of the shotgun formation, and they swing it out quickly. And not much running room there for Zach Branham, as that was a quick, actually it's Seibert, Jake Seibert. Quick swing pass to Jake Seibert. Might have actually lost a yard. So again, 7-0 lead. LaSalle, really good Division II team, and they're at the 20-yard line, so they lost a couple of yards there, and they're gonna go backwards a little bit more as there's a whistle.
Nope, that's the end of the first quarter. All right.
Well, let's take a look. That's the end of the first quarter, and let's take a look. This is how they scored, and it's a pass downfield, and that is Jake Seibert. Oh, look at that. Spins out it. That's not good tackling. It's a heck of a move, though, and great effort as Griffin Merritt to Jake Seibert. Big time play. 83 yards on that touchdown. And that's how LaSalle took that 7-0 lead, and it is now at the end of the first quarter, I believe, so they'll be getting started in the second quarter after that break. But again, a 6:30 start on this game.
Griffin does a lot of things for the Lancers offense, and last week he didn't have a single touchdown pass. So I think that's probably one of the key things that the offense said, look, hey, we need to get on, we need to try to put some touchdowns up in the air tonight to see if we want to try to get this win. And again, also, I mean, they play St. Xavier. They played last year's Division I state champ, so obviously they were going to run into a buzzsaw there. But you know, great sign to see the Fighting Irish, the Lancers ahead right now.
And they beat St. Xavier last year, so it's not like it's a one-sided rivalry. And they've beaten Coleraine, a D1 playoff team in Region 4 as well.
And St. Vincent St. Mary has to be a little bit concerned here, guys, because you're talking about a team that has lost 2 of the last 3. Now Division 3, Region 9, if you start looking at 7, 8, 9, 10, all of those playoff teams bunched at the very bottom. You've got Chardon right there. You've got Kenston, Aurora on the outside looking in. So there are teams down there hovering at the very bottom that could leapfrog St. Vincent St. Mary if they continue to stumble.
Yeah, and we had mentioned Aurora when they lost their 4th game. We thought they might be out of the playoffs. They're still alive. If they win out, and they do have to win out now, but they have a chance to win out and hop back into the bottom half of that 8 where they would be on the road, but they would continue that playoff streak.
No, absolutely, and that's not the only game that we're going to be kind of watching some of how these playoff pictures go on right now. But, you know, just definitely keep in mind, talking about, Chris, when we were talking about that St. Vincent St. Mary situation right now, early in the game, a lot of fans didn't get to see if they were watching the game, but, you know, there were a lot of flags, a lot of, you know, things that Fighting Irish, you know, shouldn't be doing against the LaSalle football team to get themselves down already. So right now, Fighting Irish, you know, we're going to see what happens in this red zone situation right now when they come back in the quarter. But they've got to score.
It's the time of year when the pressure starts building and you start thinking about potentially missing the playoffs. You're not playing very well. 2 of the last 3 losses. Your only win in that stretch is against 0-7 North. So got to start getting some momentum, especially because St. Vincent St. Mary doesn't get easier to finish off. Ursuline's having a down year, but Massillon, Washington waiting on the schedule next week.
Yeah, and again, you know, that's kind of what it is for St. Vincent St. Mary. As a very good, smaller Catholic school, you've got to schedule up because not a lot of teams in Division 3 that are public schools are willing to play you.
Right.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why it's so critical for the Fighting Irish to get a win tonight is because they're right now, when the computer rankings came out after this week, they were ranked number 7. And Chardon, who's we're going to talk about tonight, is right behind them. So they need to get a win tonight. They need to be able to help themselves in this playoff hunt right now. And it doesn't help that you're facing the Division II state champion from last year and back-to-back year. And
actually, they had to settle for a field goal, so it's now 10-0 LaSalle leading St. Vincent St. Mary. So second quarter action, 10-0 LaSalle up on St. Vincent St. Mary. Another game that we had talked about is that Division I Region 1 battle with Mentor going to Solon, and Solon really needing this one. There's 9 teams in Division I Region 1 that are pretty much locked into those 8 spots. Solon and Perry from Massillon Way are really the 8-9, and unless something unforeseen happens where somebody knocks off somebody and upsets them in the last couple of weeks, one of those teams is going to make playoffs, and one of the teams isn't going to make the playoffs. And here is a live look in as it's picked off. Tatis Tatarunas, and Mason picks it off. A great job of stepping up and intercepting that by Andrew Mason. Read the play, just picked it off, and exactly what the Solon Comets needed is he just read that play. He knew. That's a good job of coaching by that defensive staff, because Andrew Mason recognized the route tree, jumped the route, gets the pickoff, and now Solon has the ball in Mentor territory.
For the Comets, that's a great sign because, one, you're coming in as last year's Greater Cleveland Conference champions, and Mentor is kind of knocking on that door as well as you could, like, hey, we want this title this year. But here's the funny thing. Solon can actually potentially force a 3-way tie right now. But right now, first of all, they need to see if they can try to get some points on the board, and that's the first thing that they need to do.
What does head coach Jim McQuaid always say every time anybody interviews him at the end of the game? Defense. Defense is our backbone. You can talk about our offense all you want to, but we understand who we are. We understand what we have to do to win. It's always, always, always about the defense. And there's the defense. setting up Solon's offense in great field position. I think the Comets might have found something offensively. They were down 27-0 last week against Euclid, 28 unanswered points. They had another chance late in the game for a go-ahead touchdown. It was intercepted in the end zone, but since that loss against Stowe in week 3, excuse me, Solon is averaging 29 points per game on offense. So if they get that offense to start complementing the defense, suddenly you've got a team that could be right back in the mix. And
the other thing that it does is it allows Solon to potentially start trying to run the football.
Yep.
They want to run the football, and in years past, that's been a little bit of an Achilles heel for the Menor defense, is stopping the run. And that's obviously going to be a mindset of Mentor's defense. We need to stop the run. And obviously, with Thomas Wilkes, Solon wants to get the run rolling.
Yeah, Thomas Wilkes was like non-existent for the last couple of weeks just because they've gotten themselves kind of in this situation where, you know, they're going to have to, you know, try to put as many points as possible, you know, with the short amount of time that they have. So, you know, again, it's a great sign to kind of see that the defense is stepping up to try to help the Comets in this game because they're going to need it against Menor who can, you know, put up a lot of points in a short amount of time.
Absolutely. And you know, you get ahead, you kind of run the clock. That's always good stuff. Another game that we'll be covering, you know, Barberton and Tallmadge. And Barberton, a team unbeaten on the year. Tallmadge has 1 loss. So this is an interesting matchup. You know, Barberton's answered the call a couple of times. You know, they ended up beating St. Vincent St. Mary a week ago. That huge win for that program. They're on their way back to the playoffs and looking at hosting as long as they take care of business last couple of weeks. Yeah, and I'm really curious. I'm going to talk about the Tallmadge situation here. Ty Shannon, who had over 200 yards last week and 2 touchdowns. I'm really curious to see about this running back here. And the defense is not allowing a lot of points to offenses this year. So, man, I've just been really kind of curious just to how they've been able to put this piece together. And right now, Barberton's also in a situation where if they want to wrap up the American division, they have an opportunity to do so.
Barberton quarterback Zane Reese said last week that Barberton feels disrespected, despite the fact that here they are 7-0. You look at the rankings and you look at what people are saying about Barberton, and it's not talking in glowing terms the way that other people are talking about some 7-0 teams. So they have some motivation. This is a team that obviously is coming off a huge win against St. Vincent St. Mary, Aurora the week before, but still, despite those wins, Zane Reese is saying, hey, how about us? What about us? Talk about us a little bit more. Here's another chance against 6-1 Tallmadge.
And don't you think? Yeah, don't you think their opponents don't even realize that? Like, I mean, they want to get a win as well, but they know how great Barberton has come across after last year and how they've been able to jump out to a 7-0 start here. So this should be a great game. Again, I think Barberton also, in the same way Tallmadge does, you know, they have kind of eyes on their league title as well.
Well, you mentioned Zane Reese, quarterback for Barberton, 20 touchdown passes. Zero interceptions on the year. Yep. That when you're in week 8 and you haven't thrown a pick and you've thrown 20 touchdown passes, he's doing pretty well.
And look, Tallmadge held Copley to just 63 yards passing last week. But again, this is a different kind of test when you're talking about Zane Reese and the numbers that he can put up for that offense. So it'll be a very interesting test of can that Tallmadge passing defense that was so good 1 week ago hang.
Well, and Solon missed a field goal opportunity, so it's scoreless. Menor has the ball back, so the Comets couldn't capitalize on the defense that set them up on a short field. So concerning if you're a Comet faithful, but again, very early in that game.
Tough to leave points on the board against Menor, though.
I mean, the Cardinals. I mean, just in that last play that we saw, I mean, they were that close to the end zone. Why couldn't they capitalize on that? And they don't need that against the Cardinals because the Cardinals, you know, they can go 90 yards, 80 yards down the field and score. But you know, the Comets don't need that situation right now. And I mean, we're just going to kind of see what happens and how all this plays out. But you know, like I said, even coming into this game, I felt like Menor had the advantage coming into this game, but Solon, or prove me wrong, they got to be able to make field goals and they got to be able to score.
Yeah. Well, and Menor got the ball back and is now moving it downfield. Couple of pass plays, and the Menor Cardinals now have the ball at the 35-yard line of Solon, and Tadas Tatarunas gets sacked. A nice job defensively as Leskovic gets the sack for Solon. Nate Leskovic has been a multi-year starter for the Solon's defense and gets the sack. Every time we look in, Tadas Tatarunas is not liking us there.
Second time we've looked in, second defensive play for Solon. Get used to it.
Loss of 6, so it's second down and 16. You see 5 wide receivers. Not a shock there for the Menor Cardinals. And all kinds of time for Tatarunas, but not a lot of choices. Throws underneath, and it's complete. That's Logan Shea. So pretty good job as Tatarunas buys some time, completes the pass to Logan Shea, and it's third and short, third and 6.
And what did you say that Jim McQuaid said some time ago about defense? That's exactly.
Yep.
I mean, they're going to have to win this game on that defense because right now, you know, the offense has been kind of subject in the last couple of weeks. And even though they put up a lot of points against Euclid in that short period of time, but right now I think the defense said, look, man, we need to really take this responsibility and try to stop Tatus in this game here. So.
And you saw a couple of those plays after the interception. Not necessarily seeing ghosts, but maybe not seeing the field as well as Tatus usually does. The one time he held it, seemed like he had an open guy, but he was holding it a little bit long, and then the other time he took a sack. So if you start making plays early on in a game, you can start getting in the head of the opposing quarterback, and maybe some things are a little bit cloudy for him.
Here we are, and Tatarunas keeps it on a little zone read, and he gets inside the 5 down to the 3. So it's going to be second and goal from the 3. For the Menor Cardinals, trying to put the first points on the board. And Menor, their reason for needing this is to get a home game in the first round of the playoffs. They're pretty solidly in that top 5 or 6. They want to get into the top 4. And there's Edmonds. Chris Edmonds dives in for the end zone. He had the long run that set that up. And Chris Edmonds gets into the end zone. And Mentor takes a 6-0 lead point after coming. And Solon going to have to play from behind again this week, it looks like.
No, you're exactly right what you said as far as where Menor fits into this equation right now. They have a potentially a home field. If they were to play today, they would be able to host a game at number 4 right now. But Solon right now, they're outside that top 8 right now, and that's what they're trying to fight for. They're trying to get a spot back in there. And now, mind you, also we want to go back to Chris Edmond, had over 104 yards last week, 2 touchdowns. So he's obviously a key piece here for the Cardinals to see if they can get a win against the Comets.
And Dave, as you mentioned, it's Division I, Region 1. You're looking for any kind of edge that you can get in the first round of the playoffs because you're going to be playing against a big boy. You're going to have a tough matchup. And for Menor, getting a home game at the JTO where they are even more explosive on that turf, that could be the difference between them winning round 1 and losing round 1.
Well, the other thing is somewhere around 6-7, you're going to see St. Ignatius or St. Ed's.
Yep.
Because the way they finish, you know, St. Ignatius plays Moeller tonight, St. Xavier next week, Eds.
Yep.
So right now, Eds and Ignatius are 1-2. One of those 2 could very well drop down to 3, 4, and then all of a sudden you're looking at, you know, hey, we finished 6th in the region. We get to play St. Eds or St. Ignatius.
Exactly.
That's a very tough way to go.
And mind you, one team that in that same conference that we haven't hinted on here was Euclid as well. They're kind of in that middle as well. You know, they have a playoff spot right now, so I'm curious just to see how this is going to again play this out tonight. But right now, Menor's on the board, and right now, Solon needs to be able to find the answer scoring. So
yeah, and Euclid's win over Solon last week kind of vaulted them up and kind of put Solon down in the danger zone where they need to take care of business. We're going to step aside, take a quick timeout. We will return with more of Friday Night Huddle here on cleveland.com along with Chris Fedor, Nate Cline. I'm Dave Bacon. We'll be right back after this quick timeout.
This city, this club, stands with you.
Danger from Mira!
What you live for lives here.
The volley, Kamara, yes!
Ohio's television home of Columbus Crew SC. Spectrum Sports. Exclusively on Spectrum.
This is it. Your big break. Your one shot. Your only chance. There are two outcomes. Make history or be history.
The home of high school sports. Spectrum Sports. Exclusively on Spectrum.
The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education program has been recognizing students and teachers who shine both in and out of the classroom since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com and click on Supporting Education. Students in kindergarten through 12th grade are eligible to be academic all-stars. K through 12 teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible to be honored as the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Every week, from the locker room to the pitch and everywhere in between, Access Crew SC is your ultimate inside look at the black and gold. Join Marissa Contepelli, Dwight Burgess, and Neil Sika for unmatched coverage, in-depth analysis, and exclusive talks with the players and coaches. This is your club. This is your Access. Access Crew SC, Wednesdays on Spectrum Sports. Lives here. We are Spectrum Sports, exclusively on Spectrum.
Have you ever lived for something? Have you ever dreamt of something? Something more? Something special? Something bigger than yourself? Well, have you? This is what you live for!
High school sports. Spectrum Sports. Exclusively on Spectrum. Crew SC Match Day. Every match, 30 minutes before the kick. Delivering everything fans need to know. With live reports, unmatched analysis, club news, and more. After the game, stay here for Crew SC post-match. From the biggest moments to the road ahead, Crew SC Match Day and Crew SC Post Match. Only on Spectrum Sports. Wednesday nights. Get ready for kickoff with Spectrum Sports. High School Blitz Preview. The can't-miss show for all things high school football. We'll break down team news, the latest standings, and what to expect on the road to Canton. High School Blitz Preview, Wednesday nights at 7 on Spectrum Sports, exclusively on Spectrum.
Welcome back to Friday Night Huddle as we get set to recap things that are going on here in Week 8 of high school football all across Buckeye State, along with Chris Fedor from cleveland.com, Nate Cline from cleveland.com. I'm Dave Bacon. Guys, let's take a look back at the top 15 and how the voting finished up for Week 7. As we always do, we look back at the top 15 plays. Number 15, Solon High School quarterback J.T. Kizer connects with Trayvon Raphael, breaks one, makes the move, then takes off, picks up a block, 55 yards for the touchdown.
And the point.
Plenty more from this game in the top plays.
Moving on to number 14, how about Tippecanoe? This is running back Cole Barhorst with a big hole, plowing through defenders, and a 57-yard touchdown run. The Red Devils, though, lost to Sydney 49-42.
Did somebody say Sydney? Well, check out here Isaiah Bowser with a 73-yard touchdown run for the Yellow Jackets. He's running. Check him out. Oh, yeah. Yellow Jackets 49-42 win against Tippecanoe. Bowser scored with less than 2 minutes to play in the final quarter.
And Hoban, running back Tyrus Dickerson at number 12. It's an 11-yard touchdown run. The Knights, no problem at all, beating Padua.
Checking in at number 11, it's Dublin Jerome's Hayden Shell throwing it up. Up, 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 knock it down. No! Got it! How about that? Ryan Keyes comes down with it. The Celtics a 34-13 winner over Delaware Hayes.
Camp McKinley is number 3 right now with the spot in the playoffs here if it were to start. But check out Javon Lewis here with runs into the pile. And look, he escapes. Takes 30 yards for a touchdown. Bulldogs win 35-23 against Jackson.
Number 9, it's that guy again. JT Kizer swings it out. Grant McCurry takes off down the numbers. 38 yards for the touchdown pass. Still more from Kizer a little later.
Number 8, Trotwood Madison quarterback Markel Stevens Peppers. He's going to hook up with Dallas Daniels. It's a short throw. Daniels does the rest. Down the sidelines, cuts it back in. 73-yard touchdown in the Rams' 76-6 win against Fairborn.
Check out Kizer with this 45-yard run here. Take a look at this with the keeper. Run against Euclid here.
Quite a hole.
Yeah, but the Comets lost 33-28.
Checking in at number 6, St. Xavier quarterback Chase Wolf. Right on the money to Andrew Whitrock. You can't throw it any better than that. 61 yards for the touchdown. The Men of X win it 42-7 over LaSalle.
Whew. Number 5, Archbishop Hoban. This is quarterback Shane Ham looking for his go-to receiver Garrett Hauser. Little swing pass in the flat, and Hauser does the rest. That's why he's the go-to target. Hauser 62-yard touchdown. Knights win it 49-10 over Padua.
Congratulations to the Knights with this win. But here, take a look at this. Robbie Levox scrambles from the defense and connects with Ty Evans for a 16-yard touchdown pass. Woo. More from Nordonia and Levox later.
Number 3, North Royalton quarterback Joey Morosic. A nice one on the money to Miles Sternad, 25 yards for the touchdown. Take a look at this. Keeps his feet in. Perfect. But the Bears fell to Wadsworth, 61-28.
This is number 2. It got 27% of the vote. This is Euclid's Aubrey Shabazz over the shoulder to Javon Owens Jr. 18-yard touchdown. The Panthers won 33-28 over Solon.
And probably one of the biggest upsets last week, Nordonia here with 44% of the vote. Robbie Levox to Brendan O'Donnell with the 21-yard touchdown pass. Knights won 30-27 over the Brecksville Bees. That was a sting.
First win of the year for the Nordonia Knights. Okay, if you have a play, record it on your phone. Put it up on Twitter. Hashtag FNH Top Plays. Hashtag FNH Top Plays. After the games are over, we will have the top 15 this week. You can go to cleveland.com and vote on them starting at noon tomorrow, and it'll run through noon on Thursday. You can vote as often as you like. So if you have a player from your team, get out there and vote.
Come on, Dublin Jerome, what are you doing? Your man had a bouncing catch. It was up for grabs. It bounced off of him, went up in the air again, and he hauled it in. I mean, that is one of the plays of the year, and it came in at number 11. You got to stack the vote here, Dublin Jerome.
Let's check in. St. Vincent St. Mary taking on the LaSalle Lancers, and St. Vincent St. Mary driving. And they're going to settle for a field goal, it looks like, trying to get on the board. It's going to be about a 25-yard field goal. 22-yard field goal. Down 10-0, and it is no good. They missed the chip shot. Tough angle as it was near hash mark, but missed it. So
And he's a lefty.
you can't leave points on the board against the LaSalle Lancers or any good team. So SVSM still down 10-0. And speaking of 10-0, Mentor has added 3 more, so they are now ahead of Solon 10-0 as well.
How often do we talk about special teams? Special teams, special teams. Punt return for a touchdown, kick return for a touchdown, sparking the offense, or sometimes field goal late in the game, winning the game, or a field goal here, missing. You can't leave points on the board, especially this time of year against these kinds of opponents.
And for this particular case with the Fighting Irish facing LaSalle and the offense is not doing well right now, that special team needs to be able to cooperate with scoring. So, you know, hopefully the Fighting Irish will be able to get a chance back, try to get on the scoreboard again. But right now, LaSalle, there's a reason why they won last year's state championships, and they know how to make sure they put the foot on the gas.
And you know, having said that, tough angle, but again, when you get sent out there for a short one, you can't leave points on the field like that. So 10-0 LaSalle leading it again. That game approaching halftime as it was a 6:30 kickoff. So that one's a little ahead of the other games as well going on tonight. Another game that, you know, we've talked a little bit about, Padua and Benedictine. And, you know, Benedictine had that big win, and then they follow it up with a game where they turn the ball over 5 times in the first half, and they end up losing to Lake Catholic. I mean, you got to string good games together. When you come back and, you know, they had a great win against NDCL. You can't come back and lose to a team that, in theory, you should beat.
Yeah, and Benedictine is in fairly good shape right now as far as the playoffs concerned. So obviously a win would be a real big help here. One of the keys that I'm looking at in this game is their running back from Padua, Trenton Kramer. Congratulations to him, over 1,000 yards already rushing. But you know, I feel like if it gets to a point where they're going to have to start grinding out this game, he's going to have to be a key to that. And obviously their quarterback also has a great arm as well that can keep them in the game. But I'm looking at this Trent Kramer and how he's going to fit into this equation tonight.
Well, you know, we had talked a little bit about the Solon defense, and the Comets defense is at it again as Tadas Tatarunas wants to throw, and this one's deflected and picked off. And that was just not a good pass.
Yeah. Seemed like he had time to throw, too. So much about Menor is timing.
McCurry picks it off, Ryan McCurry. As Grant McCurry we had seen last week catching the football, Ryan McCurry gets the interception there for the Comets.
I'm sure during the break I'm going to probably look to see how Menor fared against St. Ignatius. We'll go back to this game here.
Here we go, as it's now 3rd down and 10 from the 28, and that's complete. Raphael, touchdown. So a real good job of answering as Trayvon Raphael gets into the end zone, and that makes it a point after coming. If they make the point after, makes it a 3-point game. So this time, the turnover hurts on the scoreboard.
That's what you like from Solon, too. Quick change of possession. Don't throw a little dinky 5-yarder. Don't hand the ball off. Go for it. Go down the field. You've got some playmakers on the outside. Use them. And that's a great, great response by Solon after the defense makes yet another play.
And a heck of a pass by JT Kizer. I mean, he put it in right in the window, right to Raphael, and Raphael did his thing, got into the end zone. So the point after is converted, in fact, so it is a 3-point deficit for the Comets. So just what they needed.
And
got to get on the board.
Been playing well lately. That's the quarterback that Solon was looking for at the beginning of the season. Didn't know maybe that they had at the beginning of the season. 255 yards passing last week against Euclid. And as I said, since that loss against Stowe in Week 3 when the offense was shut down, only 14 points for that Solon offense in Week 3, averaging just about 30 per game. When you have that kind of offense with that defense, then suddenly you can hang with a team like Menor. You're not going to win a game against Menor if you're scoring 14 points or 17 points. It's just not going to go that way because Menor's offense averages 45 a game. So you know you're going to have to put up points. And Kizer, if he keeps making passes like that, he's going to show that he's up to the challenge.
Yeah, and you know, this we were looking at it between breaks. We were talking about that onslaught, the Comets trying to avoid that Menor onslaught. So far, I mean, they're doing a good job of that, trying to keep this game close. But guess what, folks? If they can continue to keep this going on defense and try to put some more offense, guess who we're going to start seeing? We're going to start seeing Thomas Wilkes causing the Cardinals some problems in the running game.
And Solon has won the last 2 meetings against Menor. So suddenly if you're Menor, that starts creeping into your mind a little bit too.
And again, Menor, you want to, if you're in Division I, Region 1, you want a home playoff game. You want to be in the top 4 because that more likely than not means you avoid St. Ignatius and St. Ed's in week 1 of the playoffs. You're eventually going to have to face them, but you delay it as long as possible.
Yep.
Because those are 2 of the top 3-4 teams in the state.
Yeah, and Solon had to face St. Ignatius last year in the playoffs in Menor. So, you know, I don't know. For some reason, all these teams are just tied together, although they're the same region as well. But just anything you can do to kind of help yourselves, 1, to get in the playoffs, and then 2, to kind of help your kind of playoff seeding and try to avoid some of those big powerhouse teams, you know, help yourself, help the case. So.
Another game that we're keeping an eye on, the Perry Pirates, so taking on Orange. Perry, a team, smaller school, very, very good, you know. Colston Brewster getting it done again as the quarterback for that Perry Pirate offense.
So the situation with Perry, they're in the playoff situation right now. They're doing really well, but right now, you know, not to overlook any of the other teams that they have to play in the next couple of weeks, but they've got their mind on Steubenville. That was the team that knocked them out last year, and they want to be able to say, hey, look, we want to get back to that point. It's been a long time since Perry, even at that, been able to make it that deep into the playoffs. So the Pirates right now, they have their goal in mind right now, and they're playing like that right now. So.
I mean, this is a team that has yet to have a game decided by single digits. That tells you how good Perry has been so far against their schedule, averaging 52 points per game on offense, so they can light it up with the best of them. They got tested last week, and they won by 12. I think that tells you all you need to know about the challenge that Orange is facing, and Orange has not beaten Perry since 2011.
Well, our Bryant Kizer is covering this game, and he joins us via the phone. Bryant, what's going on with the Orange Lions and the Perry Pirates?
This might be one of those first 1 to 50 games.
Usually
so
is with
now,
Perry.
With a minute to go in the first quarter, it is Orange 21, Perry Pirates 13.
No.
And there's 1 block extra point that separates that 14 points. But they go up and down the field. I just had a 37-yard touchdown pass for Orange, and that's what we got right now. They didn't score. We got like 58 seconds to go in the first quarter. It's Orange 21, Perry 13.
Hey, Brian, this is Nate Studio. Hey, quick question about Orange. You know, what's your analysis of this team right now?
Well, Perry Pirates, you know, they have won 18 consecutive games, regular season games. They only, you know, they lost to Steubenville last year. But, you know, I got a good quarterback in Colston Brewster. He has 20 touchdowns and only 1 interception. He just threw his 21st touchdown today, an 80-yarder to a very good receiver. And they got defensive-wise, Beechwood hit him first. Orange hit him first with an 80-yard touchdown run. So this is going to be one of those good ones.
And Brian, you were talking about Perry and just, you know, what they bring to the table. You know, but what about Orange? You know, obviously they've for a reason they've gotten to this point, and they're knocking on the door with the playoffs right now. What are your thoughts about them at all?
Yeah, they're knocking on the door of the playoffs. They haven't beat Perry in like 5 or 6 years, but they looking at the chops. They need to get this victory because the next 2 games you would call quote unquote winnable games, but you want to get this game right here. And Orange right now they looking ready, but their defense got to type in that defense a little bit. You know, the 80-yard touchdown pass is like one of those. The defender didn't come over to cover the receiver on the corner 2. He forgot, and then the guy was wide open. So that's where we're at right now.
Hey, Brian, any turnovers in that? You mentioned all the points. Has anybody turned the ball over, or is it just big plays and the offense kind of dominating?
Only on the kickoff.
All right, Brian. We'll talk to you. I'm sure you're gonna have another 3.5, 4-hour game with all the scoring that's gone on. So I tell you, we send you to the crazy ones. So we'll check back in with you as the night goes on.
Maybe the first one to 60. I don't know.
There you go. They might outscore their basketball teams tonight.
Yeah.
All right, Bryant Kizer with the Perry and Orange update. A lot of points being put up on the board in the first quarter.
Yeah, and just because historically, because Orange hasn't done as well against Perry, you know, I was really curious just about Orange and how they've gotten to this point in the season. I mean, right now they're number 5. You know, they will make, at this point, if they were to start tonight, they would make the playoffs, but they wouldn't be able to have a home field advantage. But right now they're kind of trailing the Oberlin Firelands, so they're trying to help themselves in this case. Now Perry is a big task to beat against, but you know, Orange, you know, I just really like to see what they've done in the first 7 weeks here.
Orange is playing really well, too. They're coming off the win against West G at West G last week. That was the first time they've gone into West G and beaten West G since 1988. Think about that. So you build some confidence with that kind of signature win, and then you go in and you play against Perry, and you're thinking, hey, maybe possibly we can do this thing. We've got the offense. We can keep up. So we'll see what happens. Our quarterback is a dual-threat guy, had 4 touchdowns last week. Maybe we can make some things happen and light up the scoreboard just like them.
Well, another game that we are checking in on is Barberton taking on Tallmadge. Tallmadge, a 3-0 lead in this game. The Barberton Magic offense gets it going, though. Zane Reese buys some time, throws at his favorite receiver, Garrett Turnbaugh. Grabs it in the corner of the end zone. And point after was no good, though, so it is 6-3. Zane Reese's 21st touchdown pass of the season. Gives the Magic a 6-3 lead as they try to stay perfect on the year against one-loss Tallmadge.
I'm not too surprised about Garrett catching that pass for the touchdown because he had over 100 yards receiving last week. My big surprise is just the score right now here in the second quarter. Barberton is very capable of putting up quite a bit of points. So I'm very surprised about that. But I guess it kind of just shows about the Blue Devils. Like, you know, there's a reason why they're, 6-1 at this point. So
lone loss to Aurora.
Yep, by 1 point.
Right. It was missed extra point as well.
Hey,
so
what do we talk about?
That's kind of the win that kind of lifted Aurora back into the playoff possibilities there in Division 3.
But to your point, Nate, I mean, this is a Barberton offense that has yet to score less than 34 points in a game. So if you look up and you see the scoreboard and it's 6-3 and you're Tallmadge, you're thinking, okay, all right. Very nice. This is the kind of pace that we want. This is the kind of game that we want. This is the kind of game that maybe we can win.
Yeah, you know, the challenge is you know, that Barberton defense gets overlooked a little bit because the offense is putting up so many points. So let's see how they manage that. You know, it has a way of snowballing and they have a way of scoring in a hurry. You know, the defense stops, the offense does it, and it just keeps snowballing. At least this year.
And I'm wondering, maybe at the beginning of this game, maybe they were just trying to feel each other out since, you know, all the wins have started piling up and they're coming into this game. I was wondering, but no, the Tallmadge defense, I mean, they're no slouch either. So this game maybe be very close, but like I said, I'm just really kind of curious just why Barberton is only at 6-3 in the second quarter here. So,
yeah, you know. 6-3, they're winning.
Win is a win.
Trying to keep the 0 over there on the in the loss column. So you know, the other game that we talked very briefly about, Chardon and Brush, and that's an interesting one because the loser of that falls into danger. Yep. You may not get into the top 8 at the end of the year.
I mean, for the Arcs, it's pretty simple. Score a bunch of points and you got a chance to win because in both of their losses they failed to crack 13 points. They've got one of the best quarterbacks in the area, Godwin Joe, but I think this game lost a little bit of juice because Brush lost the game last week against East Lake North. Otherwise we'd probably be talking about this as maybe even a bigger game. But at the same time, you've got Chardon here. Chardon's borderline. You look at that playoff picture in Division 3, Region 9, they're sitting there at 8th. They've got 1 loss on the season, but it's hard for them to compile the computer points. So every single game is very, very important, especially when you're talking about Chardon. 2 different styles here. You got ground and pound, you got run and gun. So if all of a sudden Brush gets off to a good start and Godwin Joe starts making plays in the passing game, Chardon a little bit uncomfortable with getting behind, who knows what could happen.
I'll try to make a short story, a long story into a short one. But
you can make a short story long. That's okay too.
We've got a couple hours.
but
we're gonna go get some popcorn.
But I got a chance to see the Hilltoppers during the summer, and as I was watching them, it was like they were preparing their first team offense and their second team offense. And I said, man, if anything ever happens to some of these guys in the first team, they look like they got some guys that could step in, and that's exactly what happened last week. They lost. Chardon lost their running back, their quarterback, make sure I get it right, their quarterback, their running back, their fullback. They lost all three of those guys last week, and my big question was just how, if they were going to be available come week 8. But in the meantime, they had some guys step in, still get that win against Willoughby South last week, and right now they're trying to get a share of that Western Reserve Conference title right now. So, hats off to, the coaching staff for getting those guys ready. And I think the coach was even surprised, even in his quote, that he was like, man, hey, these guys rose to the occasion. So,
well, if Chardon gets this one tonight, that could be conference championship, because then they've got a 2-game lead if they get the win against Brush. So for them, obviously, it starts there. Then you start talking about the playoffs. They haven't missed the playoffs since 2013. So those are the goals, and they're right there in line for Chardon. But it means beating Brush tonight.
And for Brush, the defense has been a concern.
Yep.
They know they can score points. They know what Godwin Joe's going to do. Coach Fink was pretty upfront about it. I need my defense to play the way I think they can, and we'll see if they can get that done against a pretty good running attack in the Chardon Hilltoppers.
I was just taking a look here. Brush, number 6, taking the top 8 teams in each region. And then right now we have Chardon at number 8, who's trailing St. Vincent St. Mary in their region, in Region 9. So, again, this gets back to our first conversation when we first started the show. Playoffs, let's just start thinking right now. The playoffs are starting right now, and you need to win every game possible to help yourself in the situations out.
Chardon drops down from Division 2, where they had to deal with Hudson, Mayfield, Aurora, like all of those teams to get into the postseason picture. And now here they are dealing with Buckeye and Tallmadge and NDCL and St. Vincent St. Mary, as you mentioned. So even though they dropped down a division, they're still in a loaded division where every single time you go out there, you basically have to win. Again, this is a one-loss team sitting 8th in their division. That's how stacked it is.
And another game that we touched on earlier, Olmsted Falls taking on Midview.
Yes.
Midview's lone loss is to Avon, so it'll be interesting to see. This is kind of contrasting styles as well. Midview kind of blows up scoreboards. Olmsted Falls runs the ball predominantly, although they'll throw it more than in the past. But, it's a throw the ball over the yard against a more traditional offense.
Seamus Higley and Connor Wolf, those are the 2 key pieces in the Middy's offense there. But, looking at the numbers and looking at how many points that each team is giving up, you would favor Midview in this particular game here. But right now, obviously, we've talked earlier about Avon taking it.
Going into the playoffs last year?
Yeah. So, I think I'm kind of looking at the Middies right now. I feel like this is a game for them. This should be a tune-up game for them, I think, in order to get ready for the playoffs. But Olmsted Falls, they're also knocking on that door as well. They want to try to see if they can get another shot at it again.
You know me. Stories, right? 2 years ago, the 2 teams played in the playoffs. Last year, the 2 teams played in the playoffs. If the season ended today, the 2 teams would be playing in the first round of the playoffs. So it comes full circle with these guys. And if you're Midview, you lost last year in the playoffs to Olmsted Falls. That ended Dustin Crum's career at Midview. It was a dropped pass in the end zone. So a lot of bad feelings from that one. And Midview came into the season, guys, thinking, hey, we're going to lean on our defense experience there. We're going to lean on our running game with Connor Wolf. And here comes Seamus Higley lighting up the scoreboard like he's Dustin Crum. So getting that, Midview has been able to sustain what they had done in past years.
And you mentioned, that the Olmsted Falls beating Midview. That was the region where all the first 4 seeds lost to 5, 6, 7, and 8 in that entire region. None of the home teams won in the first round of the playoffs, which is kind of interesting. That doesn't happen very often.
And look, this Olmsted Falls team is on a 5-game winning streak, and their offense is averaging 48 points per game in that 5-game winning streak. Last week, they had 7 touchdowns rushing the ball.
Right.
So yes, you're right. Difference in styles, and sometimes when you're playing against a team that has that different style, it can be different for you. It can get scary. That's how Olmsted Falls did it last year. Spencer Linville on the ground, keeping the ball out of the hands of Crum, running between the tackles, tough, physical. Sometimes spread teams don't like playing that style.
And if you're Olmsted Falls, you love that because
sure.
You want to throw the ball, you're going to have to wait till we get done running it.
Yeah, exactly.
And oh, by the way, we take a little bit longer to score. So you shorten the game, and if you're a running team, that's what you want to do, without question.
Yeah, and Olmsted Falls, I'm wondering if they're coming into this game, they know the situation with the playoffs right now, and I'm just wondering, are they going to come in with just a little bit more motivation to try to win this game as opposed to Midview? But Midview's been here. They've been to this point. They've been ahead. They've won the conference before. So I'm just really curious just to see who's going to be able to shine in this game, because obviously both teams can put up a lot of points, but Midview is just kind of favored right now with their defense and just how many points they're allowing each game.
Yeah, you know, again, the challenge with some of the spread teams is, can your defense do enough to not put the offense in a hole? And that's kind of the question that you always have. And to a certain extent, even Avon has been that question along with Midview. Avon's defense has really stepped up the last couple of years. Having said that, they were one of those teams that got upset by a point by Avon Lake in the playoffs a year ago. But again, it's an interesting matchup just from style and history and those kind of things, those standpoints.
Yeah, and those two teams, I mean, they're going to need to make sure that they clean up whatever mistakes they need to now if one of those two teams or both even get in the playoffs, because the number one seed in the region right now is who? Avon. Avon's probably projected right now to even finish the conference winning that title this year. So, you know, they need to do whatever they can to kind of clean up now if either the team makes it to the playoffs.
And the only loss so far this year for Midview, Avon. The only loss so far this year for Olmsted Falls,
Avon.
Avon's
beaten a lot of teams, though. They're pretty highly thought of in Division II. Well, the Mentor Cardinals offense back at it again as they are taking on the Solon Comets. And here it is from the 44-yard line. Tadas Tatarunas finds Floria wide open. A nice job of finding the seam, and there's a touchdown that will push it to a 10-point lead. The point after was good. 17-7, the score.
Poor safety. He was caught in no man's land. He had somebody to his left, somebody to his right, and he's like, which one do I get? I can't cover both.
So, you know the Cardinals are going to score. You got to answer them. And the other thing is you kind of try to minimize the 40, 45-yard variety touchdowns. And, you know, you make them execute, make them earn it more by, you know, pick up first downs. If you're giving up the big plays, because their offensive scheme is going to find a way to get the 6-7 yard completions. You want to minimize the deep ones.
Yeah, and I'm not too worried about Solon because, I mean, earlier in the game we saw a couple picks already, and then last week we saw them be able to come back from that large deficit against Euclid. So I'm really not too scared about Solon getting too far behind and not being able to catch up. But obviously Mentor's another different type of beast, and they probably even want to definitely win this Greater Cleveland Conference title as well against the defending champs.
But Dave, I think you make a really good point. I feel like that's something that you have to understand going into a game against Mentor. Look, we're going to give up points. We're going to give up big plays. It's going to happen. We have to understand that. We have to be tough enough mentally to be able to overcome those things and not allow that to get us down.
Well, one of the games we've been talking about, Padua and Benedictine tied at 3, and the Padua Bruins offense from the 25-yard line. Butler finds Colin Pavlich. Oh, one arm. Looked like pass interference. It looked like the DB had his hand. Colin Pavlich, one arm grab in the end zone on the touchdown throw from Drew Butler.
Woo. Why have two when you can use one?
10-3, Padua leading. And Kevin Peterson, the normal quarterback, must be banged up. So Drew Butler getting it done.
It's my Week 8 top play. I haven't even seen the rest. How do you top that? Dude's getting his arm held. There was no flag either. Getting his arm held down. He's like, doesn't matter. I got the right one. It's fun.
He didn't throw the flag. He caught it.
Right.
I don't need to throw the flag.
I mean, my goodness. What a catch.
Yeah, no, the Bruins are looking really good, and there's a reason why they're as far as ahead they did. Now, last week after that loss to Hope, and I hate to bring that catch down at this point, but just after that loss last week, they dropped a little bit in some of the rankings. But this is still a very tough team, and so long as they can try to stick together in these last few weeks, get a playoff spot, they're going to make some noise.
Yeah, you got to grade on the curve when you're playing Hope.
Thank you. And the coach did after the game.
I mean, you really do. I mean, there's the little bell-shaped curve. There's
Right.
Hoban, and then there's
Right.
the rest of everybody else that's kind of in that conference.
Right.
Even.
And head coach Mike Polovasic said, quote, "We're not a bad team, but we're not that upper echelon team right now." That's putting in perspective for your guys. Like, look, guys, okay, we're pretty good here. We're 6-1, but Hoban's Hoban.
Right.
All right, we're trying to get to where Hoban is, and there are steps that we have to take in order to do that. I mean, this is a program that hasn't made the playoffs since 2010, so don't let that one get you down. Don't focus on 49-10. We can come back. We're still alive in this playoff mix. Let's get a win here against Benedictine, maybe close it out against Lake Catholic and DCL, then we're in the postseason.
Well, 16-13, Moeller is leading St. Ignatius down at Otterbein in Columbus. And the Wildcats kicking out of their own end zone. And a high floating kick. Oh, KO.
Special teams.
RJ KO. Oh, RJ KO with a punt return for the touchdown. Look at Moeller. Moeller with a 22-13 lead now after the punt return for a touchdown by RJ KO, and now a 10-point lead. So this is one that not many people saw coming. Moeller playing with their quarterback who has been banged up and not playing, Miles McBride, who had 17 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, great ratio, has been hurt and hadn't been playing, and they're leading the top-ranked team in the state by many accounts, by most people's accounts, by 10. Now, some people will say Xavier, but...
Yeah. Was that the punter that tried? Because if he would have gotten tackled, if KO would have gotten tackled by the punter, he would have been going down on the sidelines, and everybody would have been giving him a hard time. He was not allowing that punter to get him. That was a nice move that he put on him.
Yeah. So is that a top play, too?
I think so. Yes,
just
we're racking them up. We're nice and early. It's not even 8 o'clock, and we've got a bunch to pick from.
Dave, you were talking about Moeller's quarterback situation coming into this game, and they have a new one here. We're trying to get his name, Mitch McKenzie, who, after these few games here, has almost close to 400 passing yards this week. So this team, as many points as they've been giving up coming into this game, this was a team that, you kind of sat back and just said, I just don't know if they're going to be able to handle a Wildcats team coming down there. However, as Chris pointed out, special teams. These plays that you're going to make, this is really going to make a difference. And obviously we see it right now with a 10-point difference right now in favor of Moeller. So, I'm really curious to see how this game is going to play out, because right now Moeller is also, they're in the play. If the playoffs were to start tonight, they're in the playoffs right now. But Ignatius,
yeah, well, they have Eds coming up next week.
Absolutely.
Whitten Woods.
Yeah, so those are Whitten Woods is right up there. They're up on the top of the curve with Hoban in Division II. So they need to win. They have 3-4 wins, but the schedule that they play is just brutal.
Right.
I mean, there's no other way to describe it.
Right. If you're an Ignatius fan and you're looking at Moeller saying, how in the world are we losing to a 3-4 football team? What is going on with our Wildcats? Have no fear. I mean, their loss, the first one, came against an 8-0 team from Kentucky. Then you lose against 7-0 Xavier. As you mentioned, they might be the best team in the state.
Defending state champs.
5-2 LaSalle. Elder, 4-3. That's a deceiving 4-3 because of the schedule that they play. So when you have those kinds of losses, those are your only losses, you're not really the typical 3-4 team. So if you're a Wildcat fan and you're saying, oh my gosh, how are we doing this? That's why.
Well, and the other thing is there's a sense of urgency for Moeller, because Moeller realizes, they got to win.
Oh, yeah.
They got to win a couple.
They can do math down in Cincinnati now. Yeah, they can.
They have the number crunchers. They know. Let's see. We don't win. We're 3-7 ain't going to get it done for us. But if they 4 or 5 wins, they're going to be in the playoffs.
Yeah, and Moeller, I mean, I can't stress it enough right now. I mean, they're trailing in that region behind St. Xavier. I believe they're number 6 right now. And to be able to knock off a Wildcats team tonight, that would make a huge impact after week 8 here. So we're just going to kind of just see how this plays out. But the Wildcats, I mean, they still have plenty of time to kind of make up this game here.
Well, and the one thing that, halftime adjustments, Chuck Kyle and his staff have been doing it since literally the 1980s. So they're pretty good at adjusting at halftime. So we'll see what adjustments St. Ignatius makes against Moeller. They're very good. They're a very good team at figuring out what defenses are doing to them and changing it. The other thing is they've got a big offensive line, and they've got a ground game that can impose their will. There's no question about it. We've seen that time and time again. Euclid was up on them at halftime. It was a game against Glen Oak at halftime. And in both of those instances, they came out and they ran the football and ran over pretty good opponents.
And if you're from Northeast Ohio, you're starting to think, okay, look, state championship might go through one of those Cincinnati teams because Elder, 2-point loss against Ignatius just a few weeks ago. As we mentioned, St. Xavier. So if you're starting to project forward to the big-time state championship games, state semifinals, those Cincinnati teams are going to be awfully tough for these Northeast Ohio wins.
Well, again, you mentioned special teams. Well, we'll check in on some special teams as here we take a look at it. And again, another punt in the second quarter. And a blocked punt.
The punt is blocked.
Oh, my. So Moeller again with the ball inside the 10 after a blocked punt.
Wow. And it was Ryan Mulaney
Yikes.
who had the fumble recovery touchdown.
There you go. As,
right
again, the Crusaders offense inside the 5. Let's take a look live as they're going to try to stick this in the end zone and make it a bigger hill for St. Ignatius to climb. And we had mentioned backup quarterback is in there. And you see they go with a tight end, Bates, in the backfield as well. Shotgun formation. Quarterback rolls out. Throws picked off. Cameron Toppin. A good job of undercutting the route, and the cavalry comes riding in as Cameron Toppin. That's his 5th interception of the year. And to say he was waiting on that route was a little bit of an understatement. It's pretty good coaching. They read that perfectly.
I'll start. Ladies and gentlemen, when we get ready to go to a highlight, Chris and I don't know what's going on. So when we heard that there was a special teams play happen, I'm like, where is this? What's going on? And so the Wildcats, oh my goodness. I mean, if you want to shoot yourself in the foot, those are 2 good opportunities to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So to see the Wildcats be able to pick off interception in the end zone there, great sign for them, but my goodness, I mean, that's going to shoot you in the foot with some of those mistakes like that.
To have St. Ignatius make back-to-back blunders on special teams, very atypical. It's usually a 3-phase game for those Wildcats. And then for Moeller, it's first down. It's first down. You're rolling out to the right. You're shortening the field for your quarterback, trying to make an easier read for him. At that point, just throw it away. It's all right. You don't have to force it in the end zone. You got 2 more downs, maybe 3. Who knows? At that point, you want to see your quarterback just throw it away. Don't force it. Not against St. Ignatius. You can't get away with that stuff against St. Ignatius.
So Cameron Toppin comes up with the big play.
And huge.
It's
Picking
important
up
to
special
note,
teams.
the special teams for St. Ignatius, particularly the kicking game, a huge plus.
Oh, yeah.
Matthew Trickett, who had the punt return and also had the punt blocked, is one of the best kickers in the state. That's the young man that made a 59-yard field goal that probably would have been good from 65 last week against Glen Oak, school record. So to say that the punting game is usually a strength for the Wildcats, a little bit of an understatement. Well, we mentioned another game that we're keeping an eye on, Brush taking on the Chardon Hilltoppers, and the Brush Arcs offense, they're pretty good. Mitchell Kellogg. Oh, look at the hole. Mitchell Kellogg scooting down the sidelines and into the end zone. The Brush Arcs, as we mentioned, need this one to keep those playoffs hopes strong. And a nice touchdown run by Mitchell Kellogg as they take a 7-0 lead on the Chardon Hilltoppers in the second quarter. That's a very good sign for Jeff Fink's Brush Arcs that they still have the 0 on the board against a very good running football team in the Chardon Hilltoppers.
Yeah, and I'm sure that the Hilltoppers have seen film on Brush already. They know Goodwin Joe is a big piece to this puzzle for the Arcs. But, to see them get on the scoreboard with another player right now, that was a good sign for them. And also, I mean, right now they're kind of chasing in this region right now. They're chasing Hoban, they're chasing Barberton, they're chasing Hudson right now. So it's a good sign right now. Chardon, it's not too early, it's not too late in the game yet. So right now they have some time to make some adjustments and see if they can try to close this lead here.
And for Chardon, they've been shorthanded a lot this year, guys, and I think that has contributed to an up-and-down offense. You know, in the past, we're used to Chardon putting up big points, even though they run the ball and it's ground and pound. They do it so effectively that they're usually scoring 40, 50, maybe sometimes 60 points. But when you get all these injuries along the offensive line, they were missing 3 starters along the offensive line when they put up 14 points in a loss against Canfield earlier. You mentioned all the losses that they had in last week's game. You start looking and you see these inconsistencies offensively, and it's not what you're used to with Chardon. You don't want to get down too far when you're playing against Brush if you're Chardon, because that offense has not been clicking the way it usually does.
And boy, if Brush can pull this win off tonight, that's really going to cause this Western Reserve Conference to kind of just, maybe force a couple ties here. So we're just going to kind of just see what happens in this game. So
we're going to step aside and take a quick timeout. Things are getting interesting. It's week 8 of high school football. Some playoff pictures are taking shape and some teams trying to cement their playoff resumes. We'll be back here on Friday Night Huddle on cleveland.com. Stay with us.
This city, this club, stands with you.
Danger from Mira!
What you live for lives here.
The volley, Kamara, yes!
Ohio's television home of Columbus Crew SC, Spectrum Sports, exclusively on Spectrum.
This is it. Your big break. Your one shot. Your only chance. There are 2 outcomes. Make history or be history.
The home of high school sports. Spectrum Sports. Exclusively on Spectrum.
The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education program has been recognizing students and teachers who shine both in and out of the classroom since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com and click on Supporting Education. Students in kindergarten through 12th grade are eligible to be academic all-stars. K through 12 teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible to be honored as the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Every week, from the locker room to the pitch and everywhere in between, Access Crew SC is your ultimate inside look at the black and gold. Join Marissa Contepelli, Dwight Burgess, and Neil Sika for unmatched coverage, in-depth analysis, and exclusive talks with the players and coaches. This is your club. This is your Access. Access Crew SC, Wednesdays on Spectrum Sports. Lives here. We are Spectrum Sports, exclusively on Spectrum.
Have you ever lived for something? Have you ever dreamt of something? Something more? Something special? something bigger than yourself? Well, have you? This is what you live for.
Home of high school sports. Spectrum Sports. Exclusively on Spectrum. Crew SC Match Day. Every match, 30 minutes before the kick. Delivering everything fans need to know. With live reports, unmatched analysis, club news, and more. After the game, stay here for Crew SC Post-Match. From the biggest moments to the road ahead, Crew SC Match Day and Crew SC Post-Match. Only on Spectrum Sports. Wednesday nights, get ready for kickoff with Spectrum Sports. High School Blitz Preview. The can't-miss show for all things high school football. We'll break down team news, the latest standings, and what to expect on the road to Canton. High School Blitz Preview. Wednesday nights at 7 on Spectrum Sports. Exclusively on Spectrum.
Welcome back to Friday Night Huddle, Week 8 of high school football all across the Buckeye State. St. Ignatius and Moeller in Columbus are now at halftime, still a 10-point lead for the Moeller Crusaders, 23-13. Another game that is approaching halftime. Menor taking on the Solon Comets. Comets needing to come back as they trailed 17-7 in this one. Kizer throws into the end zone. Trayvon Raphael, his second touchdown catch of the game, and heck of a job as Raphael got open and Kizer put it where he needed to. Second touchdown catch cuts it to 3 as it's 17-14 with a little under a minute and a half remaining in the first half.
Heck of a job locating it, too. I was looking up at the football as it was coming, and I lost it in the lights. He's actually playing down on the field, and he was able to locate it. And sometimes that's the difference, and if you're Kizer, that's the smart thing to do. The cornerback was on the inside, so throw it to the outside and give your wide receiver a chance to make a play, and Raphael's been making plays.
You know, Menor, I'm not too concerned about. You know, I feel like, you know, they'll do what they need to stay ahead in this game. But, you know, even start early in the season, you know, their secondary was something that I had questioned about coming into the year. How effective were they going to be? And so if Solon is finding a way to be able to kind of pick apart that secondary, it's showing tonight so far here. You know, Raphael already has 2 touchdowns already from Kizer. So we're just going to kind of just see how this kind of plays out here. So,
well, you know, a good sign for the Comets, you know, they fell behind, didn't take advantage early when they had a pick, and they just keep coming. They just keep coming. They just keep coming. So, you know, that's a really good sign for the Solon Comets. Eventually, your defense makes a play. The offense has found a way to make it come back.
It is a good sign for Jim McQuaid. I'm sure he likes the toughness and the comeback ability of his team, but he's probably saying on the sidelines, hey, guys, maybe try and get up in one of these games so that we don't get behind 27-0 against Euclid. We don't get behind against teams like Menor. It makes it even more difficult for us. Maybe once, let's see if we can play with a lead from ahead and see what that does for us.
Yeah, there is that.
Can't get greedy, of course.
There is that. But,
you know.
but yeah. But, you know, your concern is always if the snowball starts rolling with Menor's offense. That's one of those things where, okay, they've got the short passing game going. Now when you come up to take that away, they're going to go deep, and they have the ability to score in bunches in a hurry.
Well, considering, you know, and it looks like they're getting ready to get close here to halftime here with this 3-point lead, you know, that's a good sign considering one of the keys we were talking about earlier was that if they can try to avoid this Cardinals onslaught. So, you know, one, it's a good sign, you know, be able to hang in tight in there. And, man, the defense is a really good sign right now how they're playing on the Comets side. So,
and if we switch gears a little bit, we talk about the St. Ignatius Wildcats. You're down 10.
Yep. That's
a concern. But you have done really well in the third quarter, and you've made really good adjustments pretty consistently when you've needed to. There have been games where you've dominated the whole game, but there have been games where you've been behind, you've made adjustments at halftime. So the third quarter is going to be critical, obviously, for St. Ignatius. If they can come out and that offensive line decides it's time for us to start asserting themselves, that's usually a good sign for the Wildcats.
The other thing for St. Ignatius, you could be looking at it saying we should be down 17 right now, or maybe even 13. Who knows what it could be. But for our defense to come up with that interception right at the goal line,
that's huge.
That's huge going into halftime, because that buys you time. You talk about weathering the storm. That buys you time. You get into the locker room and say, okay, let's regroup. Let's make those adjustments. Where if you're down 17 and then you have to make those adjustments, who knows? Maybe that's a little bit too much to overcome.
Well, it's a different conversation with your team.
Absolutely.
And you know, the one thing you know is there isn't a whole lot of shouting and there isn't a whole lot of panicking. There isn't much that goes on that Chuck Kyle and Nick Restifo, the offensive coordinator, have not seen. So Wildcats going to try to make some adjustments. One of our adjustments, we're going to go to the phone, check in with Ryan Isley. He is at the Barberton Tallmadge game. Ryan, what's going on with the Magic and Tallmadge?
Hey, guys, we've finally hit halftime down here at Tallmadge with the Barberton Magic leading the Tallmadge Blue Devils 13-3. Tallmadge's touchdowns have come on a Jeff Parker run and a Garrett Turnbow touchdown pass. And the defense for Barberton, as they usually are, have been very stingy. Tallmadge took the first possession down to the 9-yard line. Barberton buckled up, held them to a field goal, and Tallmadge really hasn't come close to scoring ever since.
What about the offense? How has it been more of a run-dominated or a pass-dominated for Barberton? Is it Parker and Key Thompson, or is it more Zane Reese, or is it pretty effective blend?
Okay, it's actually been about 50-50 so far, run-pass. They've run a lot of Jeff Parker. Zane Reese hasn't run the ball much at all, and Key Thompson, instead of running the football, has been running that little pattern down into about where the linebackers would be and grabbing catches there, and then that just has opened it up. Garrett Turnbow's had a couple of big plays. One was called back on an offensive pass interference. It was a beautiful throw by Reese that kind of opened up the defense. And, again, they did hit him for a touchdown earlier in the game. The offense for Barberton is they've moved the ball. They haven't really been able to take advantage of a few things. But it's also been kind of a sloppy game as well. From an officiating standpoint, there have been some calls that have changed some drives so far in this game. And will actually be interesting to see coming out of halftime, because as they were going to the locker room, an official threw an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty on Barberton after the half had already ended and the players were going to the locker room. So it'll be interesting to see in the second half how that shakes out and how that affects play.
Ryan, running back Ty Shannon for Tallmadge had 205 total yards last week against Copley. What has Barberton done against him tonight?
He's actually had a couple of big runs. He fumbled at the end of one of them, though, and that gave Barberton the football back. They've bottled him up. They've gotten into the backfield and not letting him get outside. But he has had a couple of big runs tonight. Matter of fact, on this last drive before the half, he busted a big run on fourth down and picked up a first down. But, again, they're not able to get close enough to make a difference and try to score other than that field goal they had early on. The Ty Shannon's had a couple of runs, but, again, for the most part, it's that Barberton front four holding their own at the front, and then the linebackers just getting to the ball together and flying around knowing where the football is.
Hey, Ryan, what about Zane Reese? We had mentioned a little bit earlier, came into the game with 20 touchdown passes, no picks. What has he done? How has he impressed you?
He's managed the game, and I hate to say that because I know it's a bad stigma on quarterbacks when you call him a game manager, but he has done that tonight. He's been able to read the defense, figure out if it should be a run or a pass. He's checked out of a couple plays at the line of scrimmage, and when he's needed to, he's made the plays. And the thing that I love about Zane Reese is if you watch him enough, he's mobile enough to get out on the edge to give him that run-pass option himself. So he can either go off the edge and run the football, or if the linebackers come up and try to stop him, he's got a quick pass to either Garrett Turnbow or to Thompson. So he's got plenty of options once he gets out of that pocket, and he's so good at getting outside of the pocket at the right time and not hurrying to get out of that pocket, whereas most quarterbacks, at this level, they see a little bit of pressure, and the first option is let me run. Reese usually is able to survey the field and then runs outside the pocket to to figure out what's going to be the best option for him.
Yeah, Ryan, 3-year starter, so decision-making, obviously one of the strengths, and, that's pretty impressive. 21 touchdowns and no picks, and you're in week 8. That's great That's playoff-type quarterback play from the Barberton Magic quarterback. So we appreciate the update. We'll continue to check in with Ryan Isley at that Barberton and Tallmadge game. Another game that we're keeping an eye on. This one started a half hour earlier, so they're in the third quarter already as LaSalle traveling to Akron to take on St. Vincent St. Mary, and LaSalle leading 10-0. Initial drive of the third quarter, St. Vincent St. Mary punted it deep, and LaSalle with the football deep in their own territory, and they tried the little pitch, and great penetration and a safety as making the tackle in the end zone for, and they do say it is a safety. So a good job of getting there by Emil Jackson, the linebacker. So 10-2. If only they could get a little bit better hitting with runners on scoring runners in scoring position, the Fighting Irish would be doing better. But now in reality, it's a one-possession game. You get into the end zone if you're the Fighting Irish, and obviously you're going to go for 2 and potentially try to tie it up. They did miss the field goal earlier, so that the thing is against good teams again, missed opportunities are magnified. You're always looking back going, man, we had the ball at the 6-yard line and we missed a field goal.
It's kind of been the same story, too, for St. Vincent St. Mary when they play the step-up in competition, when they play against these great teams. Against Hoban, 1 touchdown, they lose 21-7. Last week against Barberton, 2 touchdowns, they lose 35-14. So that offense for St. Vincent St. Mary been able to score points, just not against those great defensive teams. And I think that's probably the next step. And I think it also goes to show that's what happens when you have inexperience, especially at the quarterback spot.
Yeah, and I mean, they're just young.
Yeah.
And Luke Lindsay, their quarterback, is a sophomore who played a lot as a freshman. Terrence Keys, their main running back, is a sophomore who played some as a freshman. So, it's a growth process, especially with the caliber of teams that they're playing. So they'll figure it out, and they'll figure it out pretty quickly. But there's some growing pains going on. Another game we're keeping an eye on, Midview and Olmsted Falls. Dan Gilles is covering that game for us. He joins us on the phone. Dan, what's going on with the Middies and the Bulldogs?
How's it going? Well, so far it's been all Olmsted Falls in the first half. They scored touchdowns on their first 4 possessions of the game to take a 27-13 lead, and 4 different players that scored touchdowns for Olmsted Falls so far.
Is it predominantly the running attack for the Bulldogs? Are they mixing it up?
It's primarily a running attack, although the only pass they threw went for a 78-yard touchdown. That was on a play-action pass. But they've had 7 different ball carriers carry the football, and 3 of them have scored touchdowns. Luke Lombardo, Josh Jakin had a 56-yard touchdown run, and Jack Spellis, they had a 20-yard touchdown run.
Well, if you're going to throw, you might as well make it count with 78 yards and a touchdown. Has Midview's offense been able to do anything? I know they have the 13 points. Has it been turnovers, or is it just kind of getting shut down and not able to put drives together for the Middies?
They had an early interception thrown by Seamus Higley. Galaska picked it off, and that led to a touchdown for Falls. And since then, Higley has only completed 3 passes, and actually had like a 8 pass incompletion streak going for him. Connor Wolf is 94 yards rushing with 2 touchdowns. He's been the bright spot for them. Other than that, they really haven't gotten much going. Higley really needs to start connecting on some of his passes, and maybe they can get something going in the second half.
Dan, this is Nate in the studio. I'm just really curious about this Olmsted Falls. I mean, I know you talked about how it seems like they're imposing their will here on Midview, but just, are they just pushing around Midview? I mean, what's going on?
They're pretty much they're doing a great job in coverage. They're getting some pressure on the quarterback. Like I said, other than Wolf, I mean, he had a 51-yard touchdown run early on. But that's pretty much been it. They've really held them in check. They've dominated the line of scrimmage. Olmsted Falls has a lot of size up front on both sides of the football, and they're pretty much opposing their will at the line of scrimmage on both sides, and that's pretty much been the key to their defense.
Dan Gilles, we appreciate the update. We will check back in with Dan for more on that Olmsted Falls and Midview game. So, you know, here's the thing. The formula is if you can run the football and play defense, usually all that spread stuff doesn't work nearly as well.
Anything to say there, Nate? I'm not worried about Midview.
No. I mean, Olmsted Falls. I mean, they do have the horses to be able to run the football, so I'll give them that. But it's just when you look at how many points that Midview has allowed, you know, that's what you lean to in this. But obviously, they're proving right now that look, you know, if Olmsted Falls can try to make some timely scores, they'll do that. But, you know, hey, you know, credit to you. There you go.
you know, ever heard the phrase, style makes the fight? That's it. I mean, this is the kind of team that has given Midview problems. And it's something that when you're not used to playing against that team and you're a different kind of style, you don't like playing against that guy. And Olmsted Falls did it to him last year in the postseason, and this is an offense that has been averaging about 50 since their loss.
I have to give credit to Akron East head coach Marcus Hayes for this one. When they run the ball effectively, and were doing it in the playoffs last year, he started calling it bully ball.
Yeah.
And I love the term. And if you're, can't you see an offensive line really getting excited about, you know, a coach saying, let's go, guys, let's go play bully ball. You know that's what they're saying.
Yeah, and the other team hates it. They're like, oh, my gosh, they're pounding it down our throat over and over and over again. 4 yards, 5 yards, 7 yards. It is so frustrating, especially for Midview when that offense that the team has been built on, that's sitting there on the sidelines just waiting, saying, can we please get the ball? Can we please get the ball? And then you get anxious, and then you start making mistakes because you're not going to get as many possessions throughout the course of the game as you're used to.
Well, the Menor and Solon game has gone to halftime. Let's check in with Jeff Sabo, who is at the game and joins us now. Jeff, what's going on with the Comets and the Cardinals?
Jeff? Such a good first half, he's speechless.
Wow. So, Jeff Sabo covering the Menor and Solon game as it has gone to half. Okay, go ahead, Jeff.
Had a rushing touchdown. That helped get Menor on the board, and 2 field goals by Connor McIntosh, you know, helped give Menor 20 points up on that scoreboard. But the Solon Comets team, they've been able to stay in this one due to their defense. They have picked off Catarunas 3 times, and they've been able to score 14 points off those interceptions. As the Comets go into Trevon Raphael on offense twice, as J.T. Caver has hit him for 2 scores, and that is how the Comets have 14 points.
Hey, Jeff, they scored the touchdown with the field goal, rather. Menor scored a field goal with about 2 seconds left in half. How did Solon react to that? Were they happy they kept him to 3? Were they disappointed they got 3 on the board? What was kind of the emotional flow of that?
You could tell that this Comets team is very calm even after the field goal by McIntosh with 1 second left to go in the quarter. Is this Comets team, they've definitely been very resilient despite getting off to a couple of slow starts on offense. They've really been handling the pressure well. They've really been able to play relaxed. They tried to do some hurry-up offense at certain times that ended up in 3 and out. But overall, this Comets team, they are playing relaxed. They are definitely determined. And going into this one, they were excited just to even have home field advantage.
Jeff, you know this team better than anybody else not named Jim McQuaid, probably. So if you look at that loss that they sustained against Stowe earlier in the season, since that point, the Solon offense is averaging 29 points per game. What has been at the center of that change?
Well, I think first off, it's J.T. Caver in at quarterback. He can definitely run the football. They haven't had him run as much tonight as he did go down very briefly with an ankle injury. He has returned, so he's mainly been a pocket passer, but I think utilizing a lot of the different offensive weapons that they have, whereas Trevon Raphael, he's definitely been a key receiver for this Comets team. And then Thomas Wilkes, sometimes it takes him a quarter or two to really get things revved up. But once he gets going, he really starts following his blockers. He can really turn on the engine and really move the ball down the field for the Comets. Now, to answer your question, in other games, they've really the Comets were able to change things up since week 2 against this Stowe Bulldogs team. There are some games where they were handing it off to Andrew Mason, other games where they were getting Sam Bubonics, another wide receiver, involved. I think it's really just being able to get different looks to the offense throughout the season and really just being very resilient. And I think that's really helped that Solon offense propel since that week 2 matchup, or that week 3 matchup against Stowe.
All right, Jeff Sabo, we appreciate the update. We will check back in with Jeff as that game at halftime now with men are up 6. So if you're Solon, it's a one-score game. You get in the end zone, you get an extra point, and you have the lead. So that's the good news if you are the Solon Comets.
And if you're Solon,
they get the football to start the second half as well.
That helps too.
Yeah.
And if you're the Comets, you're like, hey, we're down 27-0 against Euclid. This is nothing for us. This is only 6 this time. And I think that offense coming to life for Solon gives them a lot of confidence, even though they're down 6. Maybe earlier in the season, if they were down by 6, it would have been a different kind of feeling. But with the way that this offense is playing and with the way that JT Kizer is playing and the dual threat capability, I think it's just a different mentality going into games for the Comets.
Well, we saw St. Vincent St. Mary got on the scoreboard with a safety. The offense back at it, driving as they're inside. They're approaching the red zone. Luke Lindsay, and McNally reads it, and he is gone. A swing pass picked off and returned for the touchdown for the Lancers as McNally just read that and took it all the way. Shane McNally, and now it's 17-2. And
so if you're just sitting on your couch and you know nothing about football, and they just pause the play like right as it's unfolding, and they say, "Hey Bill, tell me what's going to happen on this play." I guarantee my man Bill would have been like, the dude in white is going to jump in front of this pass and take it. It was press coverage, basically. Cornerback read that thing like a book, and the quarterback didn't even look anywhere else. Like, that was, you could see that thing unfolding.
It was like a car wreck if you're a St. Vincent St. Mary fan.
Man,
you saw it coming.
that is rough.
You wanted to cover your eyes, and unfortunately, Shane McNally said, hey, thanks.
Yeah.
We like that. Let's head back to the phones. Bryant Kizer joins us as that Perry and Orange game, I'm sure, is getting even crazier. Bryant, what's going on?
It might be the first one to 60. And with halftime is 34-28. Perry.
So Perry has come back. It might be the first to 70 at the way you're going. 34-28 at half. How has Brewster done? Colston Brewster,
Well, Brewster threw 3 touchdowns, but he threw a pick 6. One of those Lawrence Taylor passes. You know how Lawrence Taylor caught that pass and went down the sideline? Yeah, the other guy was like 70 yards. And that guy, Beachwood back on top, but Perry came right back. Well, they got a rookie running back, a freshman, Jalen Anderson. I mean, he's the real deal, man. He's 6 feet, 190 pounds. He got some quickness. He's got some elusiveness. He scored on the 5-yard touchdown run. And Orange, they fumbled the ball, and it gave Perry new life, and they scored right then. And Jacob Allen with a second touchdown pass reception. This was 37 yards. And now Perry leads at the half, 34-28. But that's not the end of the score. We got more scoring to go.
Way to go out on a limb there, Bryant.
Hey, this is a beautiful day for football. Can't you believe this? The 8th week of October, and everybody's still in T-shirts.
Hey, Brian, this is Nate in the studio. I'm curious, would you kind of take me back to when Perry was driving, and, you don't hear a lot about Colston Brewster being able to turn over the football and through that interception. Would you kind of just walk me through what exactly happened there for Orange to be able to cut the game there?
One of those sideline passes, those quick outs, and once the quarterback touches the ball, you're like, uh-oh. Only guy in the bag could tackle him. I mean, he was 70 yards. I mean, that's his first That's his second interception of the season. He came in throwing 20 touchdown passes, only one interception. So he threw one interception. It was a bad one, but Perry rebounded, because Orange turned the ball over themselves 3 times. They had 2 turnovers, 2 fumbles, and an interception. So it could be, Orange could have even more points to the board. So we could have been talking 50, 40 something at the halftime.
Brian Kizer, I'm sure we will be checking back in with you as a lot of scoring going on between Perry and Orange. Another game we are keeping our eye on, Benedictine taking on Padua, the Bengals, and the Bruins. And Benedictine with the football. And they give it to Matthias Chemlewski. Over one defender, bounces it outside. Look at that. That's a nice touchdown run. That'll tie the game up at 10-all. The 22-yard touchdown run by Chemlewski. Third quarter in that one, and they are tied up at 10.
Benedictine likes close games. We were talking. We talked about. I think it was about a week or 2 ago. We were talking about the NDCL game and how that came down to a field goal there. But Benedictine's not shy of having a close game with you and trying to keep it. So, one thing that Padua's been able to do is been able to stretch out scores against opponents in their last 7 games here, minus the Hoban game. If you give the Bengals an opportunity to be able to cut a game, this is what they're going to do. And so far right now we're looking at a tie game here. So,
well, last year Benedictine played a bunch of close games and lost them. Yep. By 7 or less. I believe it was 6 of them they lost by 7 points or less. This year they're winning them by and large. They did have the loss where they didn't play as well as they wanted to against Lake Catholic after one of those wins, but they're starting to win close games. They're used to being in close games. That's a good thing for the Bengals.
Yeah, and I think it's also a good thing for Benedictine to be at 10 points already, because if you look at last week's game, the loss against Lake Catholic, they score 7 points nice and early, and then they get shut out the rest of the way. So after their offense was completely shut down by Lake Catholic through 3 quarters, to have 10 against Padua, a team that right now controls its own destiny for the playoff picture, Benedictine needs that offense to continue to get going, especially when you look at the final couple of games of this schedule, with Benedictine being on the bubble here when it comes to the playoffs in D2 Region 5.
And last week we touched on a little bit, a lot of turnovers against Lake Catholic. I believe it was 5.
Yep.
And that, not many teams can overcome that, and they certainly could not.
Yeah, and Benedictine right now, they're in a good position right now. We were talking about the playoff situation right now. If the playoffs were to start tonight, they wouldn't host a home game, but hopefully for them, with this win, that could help them project them, especially in a region where you're facing last year's Division III state champion, the Archbishop Hoban Knights, and a few other teams that are some powerhouses as well.
This is a big one, too, from Padua's perspective, because last year, you remember, they got off to that 4-2 start. Then they lost 3 of their last 4, and they missed the playoffs. Now, this was a 1-win team in 2015, so they're building, and they're trying to get back into the playoffs for the first time since 2010. If they don't get it done tonight against Benedictine, then their playoff hopes rely on a win against Lake Catholic or a win against NDCL. So it doesn't get easier for Padua at the very end of the season. They want to continue to be in control of their own destiny, and the way that they do that is beating Benedictine. If they lose to Benedictine tonight, suddenly now it becomes a lot more difficult to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, and third quarter tie game. Both these teams are used to playing close games, so minimize turnovers, play defense, and put your offense in a position to win it.
It was a close game between the two teams last year, too, 21-14. So about what you would expect from a head coach and Mike Polovasic, who knows Benedictine really well because he was the defensive coach at Benedictine. So he knows how to beat the Bengals, and the Bengals know all about him. So this is what you kind of expect when you talk about these interleague games.
Yeah.
Well, another game that we are tracking is the Chardon Brush game. Matt Goul is at that game and has this halftime update. Take it away, Matt.
It's halftime here at Corp Field on the campus of Brush High School in Lyndhurst. I'm Matt Goul for cleveland.com and Friday Night Huddle, where the Brush Arcs have a 7-0 lead, courtesy of Mitchell Kellogg III's 34-yard touchdown run that you probably saw earlier here in the second quarter. And that's a big one because the Arcs are up 7-0. They come in this one with a 5-2 record, 3-1 in the Western Reserve Conference. So a win could pull them even. It would pull them even with the Chardon Hilltoppers, who are 6-1 but 4-0 in the WRC. Of course, Brush a week ago came off with an upset loss on the road. So this is a big bounce back game for the Arcs if they can pull out this game against a Division II, now Division III playoff team from a year ago. Of course, you probably also saw Chase Cline. He has been a load in the backfield. Chardon did control the tempo early. You might have seen a blocked field goal of Brush. Really set the tone. Chardon has been controlling the ball, but Brush got a couple of big plays, and that's been the difference here at the half. Keep it tuned for the second half. I'm Matt Goul for cleveland.com and Friday Night Huddle.
All right, Matt, we appreciate the update, 7-0. You know, if you're Brush, the good thing is your defense has come up with big enough plays to keep them off the scoreboard. And when you have Godwin Joe playing quarterback and that weaponry, if you get a little bit of defense, he usually will provide enough offense for it to come out the way you want it to.
Dave, you were talking earlier about the Arcs defense, and you know I was a bit concerned about that as well because they've been allowing quite a bit of points coming through the first 7 weeks here. So to see that they're holding the Hilltoppers to 0 at the half, great job on their part. Also, as far as on the Chardon side of it, glad to hear Chase Cline is back, who committed to Michigan State actually.
Yep.
So he was one of those few guys that were out last week, and so it's good to see that they're getting a little bit healthier here in Week 8. But no, definitely the Arcs, very surprised just by their defense and just coming in and what they're doing right now.
Well, had a chance to talk to Jeff Fink a couple weeks ago, and he feels they're a playoff team. Talks about it with his team. We're a playoff team. Our defense needs to come out and play. If they play like they are capable of, he feels they can not only make the playoffs but win a game or two in the playoffs. And once you get into that level, who knows? But it's good to see if you're a Brush Arc fan. Brush's defense has come to play. They lead 7-0 at half. So we are approaching third quarter of most of the games here in Week 8. We're going to step aside and take a quick timeout here on Friday Night Huddle. Along with Chris Fedor and Nate Cline from cleveland.com, I'm Dave Bacon. You're watching Friday Night Huddle here on cleveland.com.